What's up YouTube? KidMoto22 here, and I'm coming to you guys today to talk about something that I think is interesting and food for thought. And so really what I want to know is, with all the changes and everything that's going on with Harley right now, can we still hate Harley-Davidson? So let's discuss, let's get after it. Welcome back YouTube, KidMoto22 here, and as you saw in the intro, I want to talk about whether or not it's still okay for us to hate Harley-Davidson. I mean, let's go through a list of things that I've just kind of thought about in my head and thought, I think that they're really making some good moves, doing some good things, and it's kind of like maybe we should think about that a little bit when we keep on throwing shade at them and saying that they're not doing what the customers want, and they're not really getting out there and knowing what's going on in the industry. So, you know, here are the maybe like 5 or 6 things that I can think of right off the top of my head that say that maybe Harley's doing it right. Maybe they're making some good moves. Maybe they're doing some things for sustaining their business and keeping the customers happy. So let's just go back to 2017. 2017, they launch the Milwaukee 8. New motor, it replaces the twin cam that they've been using for more than 10 years, and it basically goes off without a hitch. You know, the first couple models, they said, you know, these motors are blowing up and all these things are happening, and the oil pump, you know, there was a legitimate oil pump issue. They resolved that. But, you know, I have a Milwaukee 8 2017, and I've had no problems with it. The thing is great. It's a great running bike. It's a great motor. So the next thing they do is they make another major change. They drop the Dyna, and they completely redesign the frame of all their middleweight cruiser models and redesign the Softails, right? So I don't like the naming vernacular where they kind of all lumped them in and called them Softails. That I don't really want to. Well, I could do a whole nother episode on that. But they did this really great thing, and they made this frame monoshock, all the different styles. They did it on the Heritage, the Street Bob, the Lowrider S. You know, they kind of redesigned this frame to fit what people wanted, to be able to take these middleweight cruisers and ride them more aggressively. So that's another major change that they did. Then where do we go, right? So we wait a couple of years. They do some tech upgrades on the baggers that kind of had some mixed reviews, and, you know, maybe will or won't pan out. You know, people discuss whether or not they were well received. But in that interim, after the Softail models, and after they kind of, you know, the M8 is running and working for a couple of years, they say, listen, we're going to a whole nother model. We're going to put out a brand of bike that we've never done before. They launch an electric motorcycle. Now, again, some people think this is the wrong direction. Some people do, some people don't. You know, that's not for me to say. But it's just another example of another step in innovation, right? What comes after that? They put out the Pan America, get into the ADV market, a completely different motorcycle and another new motor. So now we've got 2 new motors in like 5 or 6 years. We've got 2 brand new motor platforms that they have not been running before, okay? We know the EU standards hit. The Sportster can't be sold in Europe. Harley again goes back to market and releases a Sportster S. Albeit a toned down version of what we see in the Pan America, they're bringing back the roots of the Sportster. There was a time when Harley put out the Sportster and it was the fastest cruiser on the market. It was their answer to all of the metric bikes that were being put out there that were small, light, and fast. The Sportster was Harley's answer, and it was great, and it lasted for a really long time. So long, in fact, that when Harley put out this new bike, they didn't brand it with a whole new branding. They renamed it the Sportster. They brought back the sport in Sportster. Okay, so it's 2021. I gave you these examples that all happened from 2017. What do we have? 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 4, 5 years of innovating almost every year, okay? We complained that Harley wasn't putting tech on their bikes. They released a motorcycle full of tech, ride modes, and this is the Pan America, right? They released the RDRS system with, ride modes on their baggers. The ABS, now, again, some people are going to say, well, you're saying stuff that was done by other motorcycle manufacturers and everything. You're not wrong, right? Except this is the American-made motorcycle company, Harley-Davidson. This is what they're doing, okay? Because we complain about Harley not maybe keeping up with the times or keeping up with trends. They're constantly moving that needle every year for the past 5 or 6 years. They've done more innovation and more changes in that time. Then they went back to the old models, right? And they started their CPO program. Is it the CPO? The certified, pre-owned. Yeah, CPO program, the certified pre-owned motorcycles. They started that program to put, warranties on some of their older bikes and get those back on the market and reselling those bikes. All of this amidst a CEO change, some board members changed, all of these things, these are things you see in big companies that oftentimes cause major disruption and failure in the marketplace. But they're changing, growing, innovating, putting out new lines. And I'm not going to argue, you can say that these are all being done, that they're pulling ideas from other markets, but Harley's been the one also where companies have pulled from them. I'll use the Challenger as an example, right? Indian didn't really innovate when they put out the Challenger. What they did was they listened to their customer. They took what was really going well for Harley, which was the Shark Nose, the Road Glide, right? People were taking that bike and they were slapping on all kinds of performance parts and making it do these things that were unexpected for that size and weight and a touring chassis, right? And Indian just put all those on one bike and put it out, right? So we could argue that they really didn't innovate. I'll get to Indian on a later episode. Check out my next episode after this where I'm going to specifically address what I think Indian has done with the motorcycle market because I think it's interesting. So there we go. Can we really continue to hate on Harley when they've done all of these things, when they've answered our question time after time after time? New motors, more tech, faster bikes. They were slow, so they put the Sport back into the Sportster. They put out a whole electric line, and then they peeled that off from the company, and Harley's electric line is its own entity now. I really think that we need to take a step back and think about, as consumers, are our cars, for instance, being innovated this much? If you think about the brand that you love, whether you love Chevy or Ford or Dodge or whatever it might be, are they innovating this much every year? Are they completely redesigning a motor every 4 years? I don't know if they are. I mean, I think we see brands come and go within our perspective cars that we like, but I don't think we see a whole new line of bikes, a whole new frame redesign, a whole new engine design, move us into a market that we've never been before with the ADV market. I think they're doing some pretty amazing things right now, and I think the hate needs to take a step back. That's just me. You guys hit me up in the comments below and tell me what you think. Do we need to take a step back on the hate, or do we just need to keep on hating? I don't know. I think we need to take a step back because I think that they're doing some pretty cool things. Anyway, I hope you like my video. If you do, give me a thumbs up. You can hit the subscribe button here. Here, I'll put a link to another video that you might like. And that's all I got for you for this episode. This is Kid Moto. I'm out.